Welcome to Inspire and Move, the show that inspires you to create, connect, and grow. I'm going to bring you meaningful conversations, aha moments, and all the motivation you need to up-level every part of your life. I'm Ali Aruda, founder of Inspire and Move, and your personal hype girl. I've gone from fashion school to celebrity stylist to corporate marketing to brick and mortar entrepreneurship with my husband, each time learning incredible lessons how to pivot, reimagine, and implement the steps to become successful. I am passionate about inspiring others to live their best life, a life of joy. We have the power to design a life that we love because life is too short not to. The best part is that you weren't meant to do this alone. If you feel like you were meant for more, let me ride shotgun with you, and together, let's get you to where you want to go.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Build Your Digital Community, but it's a collab episode, which I'm so excited about, with the Inspire and Move podcast with one of my little besties, Ali Aruda. Hi, Ali.
Woo-woo.
And we're so lucky because we're actually here in LA for Chris and Lori's dinner series, and we're so lucky we get to do this kind of stuff. This is kind of how we met last year in Phoenix. And so we are here at the DreamX studio. We're so excited to interview some of our fave people, including one of my favorite people ever, Inbal Claudio.
I am so excited to be here. I'll do a woo woo.
Yeah, we love a woo. Kristina, one thing you kind of forgot to mention is that we're sitting at our 1 year friend anniversary.
Oh my goodness.
So that's kind of a cool detail, considering that is, friendship, community, and that is a hot topic for the three of us to chat about today.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Ali. I love that because one of the things that when Ali and I were like brainstorming guests and we were talking about having a bit of extra time here today, I was like, okay, I am hanging out with my friend Inbal and she is the community queen. And I've had Inbal on my podcast before and people love the episode because community is one of these like hot topics that people are just like talking about a lot right now and everyone's really excited about. But I actually feel like not a lot of people do it well. Is that horrible to say?
There's no question mark needed.
No, that was just really honest, and we love honesty.
Yeah, this is gonna be an honest episode, right?
Yes.
So I would love, Inbal, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about you, especially for folks in Ali's audience, and then let's jam on community a little.
Yeah. So thank you, ladies, for including me in this beautiful space, and thank you for coming to Orange County. This just made my day. I am Inbal. I am the founder of Like-Minded Collective. It's a virtual social networking platform for women entrepreneurs. Think like Facebook meets LinkedIn. I built it 2 years ago because I felt like there was no free space online that really put friendship before business. And so I created this. We do free networking, free workshops, free community. And about 9 months ago, I was like, okay, I'm creating the most incredible community virtually, but I need to hug my friends in real life. So 9 months ago, I launched Like-Minded OC, and we do in-person events in Orange County. We do walks, co-working, coffee, and it's just been like the biggest blessing in both my life and business. So I am so excited to chat all things community because I know how impactful it is when done correctly. Like you guys met a year ago and you've done so much collaboration and just been friends and your friendship has grown. Like I've just seen it from afar on social. So we all know how special it is. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm also a mom of 3 and live in Orange County.
You are? Where did they come from? They came from your elbow.
Yeah, truly.
I actually had that conversation with my daughter yesterday. She's like, did they come from your belly button? I was like, no.
No, I don't know. Like, elbows or ankles is my guess. Yeah, hot mama.
Seriously.
It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you.
I know we were kind of chatting about this before we hit record that you and I met at High Vibe Women, Kristina and Maria's amazing event. It was their inaugural event earlier this year. Although I felt like we were separated by a bunch of other tables and I could feel your energy. And I'm like, I need to meet her. I need to talk to her. And I love that we have a lot of things in common. I mean, also between the 3 of us, I'll say 4 of us, as if Maria is here as well because she's, your work wife, other half of High Vibe Women.
Yeah.
And it's so fun sort of jamming about the community, but also events. And I am really intrigued to know what your journey has been like with free events. I started with free events and then I have slowly worked my way up to low ticket events. And now I have a combination of low ticket and some higher tickets, not multi-thousands, but at least more of like, 100, 110.
You're selling a mastermind day right now.
And my mastermind.
Yeah. Okay. Is that $110?
It is not.
Okay, yeah, just want to check in. Yeah,
but I was
great value.
Yeah, I actually was a little price nervous, and I know that's something that we've shared in some of the masterminds that we've been in. That I've had a a tough go with kind of understanding how to price things and feeling it's almost insecurities. I've had insecurities about how to price events, where I have some events that I look at what people are getting just from a, let's call it a swag component that I do these girlfriend walks. So I'm excited to dive into that, but I'll do girlfriend walks and they're getting over $100 worth of swag, and it's a $30 ticket, maybe a $35 ticket. And you get a glass of wine, maybe two, a whole night out, which I think is an amazing value.
Yeah,
but,
I'm like taking notes.
yeah. Hey, girl, I got you. But getting to that point of trying to understand your community and what they want, what they're comfortable paying, I find it to be such a intimidating part of community building and curating events.
Yeah.
I feel like I have PTSD from charging, and I'm dead serious about that. I launched Like Minded Collective. Like I said, it's free. We have a membership for business, and I launched the membership. I changed the price, and then I was like, my mission for making every single female founder know how amazing she is and like really went out the window because I was worried about the pricing and the membership. And I'm like, I need to go back. So I made everything free again. And then when I launched the membership again, I felt like I had PTSD. I was like, do I launch it? How do I launch it? Are people going to buy? Are they going to cancel? Am I going to retain people? And it's such a difficult, mental barrier to kind of overcome because it happened to me in the past, right? And we all go through that. So with my in-person community, pricing, everything was free except for one business event. So the walks were free, the co-working, the coffee meetups were free. And Kristina and I were talking about this before, I'm creating a space where women are connecting. They're signing $10,000 clients at coffee, and I have a hard time charging $10. That is wild, It's 100% a me problem. And so actually yesterday I launched a membership for my in-person, and I'm going to charge for every event. And if people want to come, amazing. And I know that because I've cultivated this amazing community over the last 9 months, women will pay. They will join. When I announced that I was launching this membership in person, literally the women in the room were like, it is about time. You need to charge for this, And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you.
Well,
for
you
saying
build
that.
up relationships that
Right.
people know, like, and trust you. And that's
Yes.
a big part of sales, big part of customer relations, customer service. I think that is something that people nowadays can easily overlook. And that is still, it kind of feels old school sales, but it's the basis that you're selling something to people, whether it be a product, a service, a community. And if they've already engaged with you, they know you, they like you, they trust you. So now they're going to feel more confident about moving forward to make that investment and engage in a different way.
Yeah, and they know they're going to get value, right? They come to my events, they make connections, they build friendships, they get referrals, clients, and besties, essentially. So they want to stay. And I think the free events is crucial in a sense, right? Because you want people to get a taste. So I think having some sort of something free, a way for people to get in, to get to know you, your community, is really beneficial. But I definitely think that as community builders, we're putting so much time and effort and behind the scenes to create these rooms where we want people to just love that we have to charge.
One thing I will say about charging for events, even if it is, $10, $20, $30, I find that it also reflects a different scale of commitment.
Totally.
That people have spent their own money, and everybody works hard for their money.
Yes.
So they have now spent their own money to commit to this event that you are curating and putting together, which is your time and your work and your effort, that you are curating this experience. They've committed to the date, it's in their calendar, but they've also invested a few dollars, whatever scale that is. And I think it instantly reflects their level of commitment to coming and showing up, playing full out, depending on what the event is, versus, I'm going to put it on my calendar, and the day comes, and you'd rather sit at home in your sweatpants and snuggle with your dog because you're tired.
Yes.
And people will always make that decision. So I that's what I have found. And so that's when I eventually made the shift from free events to ticketed events, just to really have the support and the commitment from people.
Yeah, it's interesting because today or tomorrow I have my first higher ticket. I'm doing a content day. and I charged $125. And my other events, I get things sponsored, so the space and the food. But for this, like, I had to pay for the space. I'm paying for the food and everything. So I'm like, I have to charge more. And it was like back to that feeling, right? And I'm like, if they want to come, they come. If not, it's fine, you know? But getting to that is not easy.
Well, and guess what? You're a businesswoman.
Yeah. And they're coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting because I think, like anything in business, it's like the free time that we get to put in at the beginning is so crucial to building that know, like, and trust with people, that it's like, I don't want people to listen to this and be like, don't do anything for free. Like, that's not, like, for me at least, that's been such a big part of our success, has been being willing to pour into people. But there also has to be a point where you can't do everything for free. And also looking at, like, the bigger picture of what you're building. Like, often when we do things for free, like, there's other things that come from it that might be monetary in another way, but might not be a ticket price. But maybe you're getting clients, maybe you're in front of, like, ideal audience, maybe you get to do like maybe something like this. If we had a live audience here, like, we're getting content and you get to be in front of people. Like, there's lots of different ways you can kind of slice it. But I think even as you get, like, further along in business, like, I remember at the beginning, like, a $1,000 room felt like a lot, and then now I'm in rooms that are quite a bit more, quite a bit more. And when I'm in those rooms, it's like, okay, I paid to be there. I'm seeing people play all out. People are showing up to the calls, and that's such a big piece of it. And so I think, like, when building community, it's like trying to find different ways that kind of work for your people, to be able to pour into them. But I was gonna say, Allie did say, I saw Allie this weekend at a bridal shower, and Allie and I were talking to somebody about events, and Allie was like, Kristina's my protege. And I am her protege because we were at Chris Harder's mastermind, or at his roundtable, and Allie was talking about events, and she's like, I run this, like, 100-person event. Sorry, Allie, I always, like, out you on this. I run this 100-person event, and I was like, in your backyard? Like, that's nuts. And she was like, yeah, and then there's an Aperol Spritz card. And I'm like, she didn't flip her hair like that, but she was like, yeah, there's this Aperol Spritz card. And I was like, how did you get Aperol Spritz card? She's like, I just asked. And I was so shocked by this. Like, to this day, I'm still like, what? And now, like, even through High Vibe Women, like, our series of events, like, we just started asking people for stuff. And it's been amazing how many people are interested in doing stuff with you when it's a collaboration, and it's like that equal energy exchange where you're not hitting people up for things, and you're not, like, asking for things without giving anything in return, but actually figuring out ways that, like, you can add value back to the people that you want to be, like, supporting. And then that helps in turn your community. When you have a great swag bag, that helps your community. That gets exposure for the brands. Like, yeah, it's been a really interesting journey for me, especially because I find it so hard to ask for things.
Well, you did say something before we hit record about, you know, when you make that ask, you actually feel more confident in your ask when you have already invested in that product or service.
Yes.
And I think there's real power in that as well, that, you know, there's time and place. And I was also sharing that I've been doing some cold outreach on Instagram, and my approach is connecting with the brand and asking for the appropriate person to connect with. So take it out of the DMs and into email. So there's, I don't know, a little tip and takeaway for people listening is, you know, taking it off of the social media platform and to email.
Yeah.
But I definitely like going to my community of partners that I like working with, because I think it also provides that level of authenticity, that you are sharing something that you love and you use. Like, for me, for example, just for context for everybody listening in our communities, like, to me, going to McDonald's and asking for maybe an instant coffee for the swag bag would not be an energetic match. It's not
McNuggets are not an energetic match.
It is not an energetic match for me. And I think that that's something that my community would probably know. Be like, oh, that's weird. It's probably not really a brand or product that Allie uses.
Yeah.
So I want to go to partners and products that I do use and work with,
Yes.
or are nicely aligned with my core values of who I am and who Inspire and Move is at the core.
Yeah. And when you're going to make those kind of asks, like, actually asking yourself, like, what value are you going to add back to these people? And I think that's, like, in all things when we're building community, because I think often, like, a lot of brands and businesses I'm seeing are trying to build communities, but they're just thinking about, like, the bottom line for themselves and not actually thinking about the value that they provide, you know, their members, or whatever that looks like, whether it's an event or whatever. And so even with partnerships, like, even I worked with an amazing, like, hydration drink. It wasn't Glossy, but Glossy is my preferred hydration drink. Yours too, Allie.
That's right.
We love Glossy. It wasn't Glossy because Glossy wasn't out in Canada and still isn't yet. But they gave me, like, so many packs for our swag bag. And I just felt so guilty that I didn't actually use this like hydration mix that I started using it because I wanted to buy some. And then now it's like part of my daily routine because I'm like, oh my gosh, they were so generous. And then we made them all this content and we were so excited to share that with them. We didn't have to do that. But then when the next event came around and I was like, no hard feelings if you don't want to do this again, they sent double the amount because they were like, wow, like you really poured in and that's awesome. And thank you so much. Right. So even if you're not like, I'm not telling you to do that, like where it's like you build a partnership with someone and then like, you know, over deliver, but like, cause they'll give you more stuff, but it's like people want to build that relationship and they want to build those connections. And like, that goes as far as like business goes back, right? Where it's like, you know, you're a farmer of some sort and you're making bread, you're doing trades, you're connecting. And so I think just thinking about when you're trying to figure out who power partners can be for events, for community, for memberships, it's like actually instead of being like, what can that person give me? Asking yourself like, what can I actually do for that person to move the needle? Is my audience the right person for them? Like, you're right, McDonald's probably isn't a good thing for your girlfriend walks, your strong walks. Like, it's not probably a good fit, but someone else might be a great fit and they're going to be so excited to give to you and be part of your community.
You did such an amazing job with the High Vibe Women community because I remember getting your email with like sponsorship or like asks for swag bags, and I used your example, you as an example when I was teaching my course because I'm like,
so you used Allie as your example.
And now I know.
So proud of my protege.
Who to give credit to. But the way that you approached it, the way that you set up the different tiers and the value that you were giving was like very impressive, you know? And even just like, hey, you know, whatever you can provide for the swag bags, or, you know, if you're interested in a sponsorship, these are tiers, or if you know somebody, just even just sending it out to your email list. And people don't think about that. They're like,
Totally.
you know, the products are like banks, for example, right? We were talking about earlier, but nobody thinks about like just sending it to your whole email list because you don't know who knows who. Maybe somebody's husband works for like Trello or something and they can give some, you know, swag or it's so valuable. So I thought you / Allie did a great job with that. I loved it.
you.
One of the things I actually would love to circle back on, and you dropped a really powerful word, is value, is providing value. And I think that is something that we can even dive into when building a community and the value that we, as let's call it community leaders, are curating and how we are providing value to our community, which I think also then sort of reflects this other powerful component of relationship capital and relationship building. And Kristina and I, you and I talk a lot about referrals and that whole journey in Inbal. I'm sure that's very relatable for you as well. But what happens within that community, then how we are providing value as, you know, curating these connections and these experiences. Because yeah, we could all go to a coffee shop and strike up a conversation with a cute girl having a coffee and with a laptop. But it's made a hell of a lot easier when the experience is curated with 30 girls there with the right mindset and good energy and the outlook that they want to connect and create community and friendships or business relationships. And that is the focus is how we can provide value to them in what we're creating.
I think that's something that is hard for people to understand too, is that, like I was saying before, is that it takes time for us to curate that room, right? And having the conversations and inviting people and going to like boutiques and, you know, farmers markets and trade shows and like connecting with actual like business owners and other events and saying, oh, you live in Orange County? Like I do this, I'd love for you to join. And it takes time and effort to create that value, you know? And the thing for me too, going back to the PTSD, is like when you charge, maybe less people will come. And for me, I'm like, oh God, that's less value to the people that are coming, when that's so false, because even in a room of like 3 people, there is so much value. So yeah, it's so important, providing value, the right people, curating the space. It's, you know.
Well, I was going to say too, you brought up an awesome point, which is this idea of like the value of other people's relationships. And this is something Allie and I talk about often, where it's like, when you curate a relationship with people, it's so hard. Inbal and I were talking about this in the car. We were talking about boundaries, like about saying no to people. And we were like, maybe we should talk about this.
And
but
this
like,
is something that the 3 of us are supposed to attempt chatting through.
yeah, we were going to talk about boundaries.
How cute.
And then in the bathroom, we were all like, none of us have any thoughts or good feedback about this, because none of us have any of these boundaries you speak of. But I find it so hard when building community because I've spent so much time with High Vibe Women. Like it's only a year and a bit old, and these events have been so amazing. But I've spent so much time like curating partnerships with people. But again, I love to add so much value in my partnerships. I don't want people to just give me a pack of protein powder and I'm like, okay, thank you so much. Bye. It goes in the bag. Like even my vendors, like High Vibe Women, I was like, you make money? Like, did you have a good time? You make some money today? And they're like, yeah, leave me alone. Like, we're fine. But what's so interesting is that I often get asked that are like, hey, I'm going to run a free event and I know this person gave you this for free and I also want this for free too. And that always really rubs me because I've spent the time and I'm already feeling guilt-ridden about, the things for free. And I don't actually think it's free. I think it's like an equal energy exchange. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to introduce you because I'm scared about the way you're going to ask. But I also like recognize that person's probably happy to give. And so it's this hard line of like, when you see these things at other people's events, and Allie's such a great example of this. Like, again, Allie's my Yoda. Just way cuter. She's like a hot Yoda.
I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, like, she was my Yoda of like asking people. And then we also have like this Allie's kind of brought me into her world of being close friends. And so then we have this like overlap of all these people. And then I'll be like, oh, I can't ask that person. Or we came across this from Maria's like, I asked this woman for like protein balls. And Allie's like, that's my protein ball woman. Like, and we're like laughing about it, but it's like we don't want to be overwhelming these people. And so I don't know what the answer is to this truly, but it's like also realizing that the people that you're asking for those connections, like they've put in the labor of those relationships and of adding value. And sometimes like not being offended if that person says, you know what, I've given a bunch of referrals to this electrolyte company. And so I just feel guilty doing that. Maybe next season or something like that. I don't know. Have you guys experienced this?
Well, one thing I will interject and say,
I'm like, my eyes are like wide open. I'm like, oh God.
Well, with the notion of, let's give her a shout out, Urban Baker.
Oh yeah, Urban Baker.
She's just the best. So delicious.
They were delicious.
I actually traveled with her stuff.
Aww.
That's my go-to travel snack for early morning flights. So another hack, another tip, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think when you
look. Sorry, you didn't have a McDonald's hash brown?
Not an energetic match.
Yeah, understood.
Shocking, I know. But when you have this company that, Urban Baker as a brand and her products that you believe in and you want them to succeed, that it's coming at this point, from this direction and this energy that you want success for them, but also maybe understanding their boundaries, that if it's a small business, that maybe they hit their quota. And I think people are very good at that now, of sort of knowing that what they have capacity for in terms of contributing dollars or products, maybe asking, and I will try to keep the conversation going. Perhaps one more stage is, do you have sample sizes or sample packets? Do you have cards? I don't love putting paper cards and paper products in bags. I feel like it's not as exciting for your guests and your community.
Or like a door prize also is a good option.
Or let's do like 3 options that the first 3 ticket holders have an incentive, that they are gifted a product. Could be a different direction, but I think coming at it with that true belief that you want success and you want to provide value, again, coming back to value for your community, but for these brands and partners and products that you use and care about, it all comes down to the attitude behind it.
Mm-hmm. I always kind of continue the conversation further. So I'll say like, yeah, I would love to connect you. Let me just check in with her to make sure that she's on board or he's on board before, and I reach out and I say, or sometimes like I feel bad when people are like, oh, like how much did you pay for this? And I'm like, I think they gave me a discount, but like, do I say their price? I'm like, oh yeah, like I have to check, I'll get back to you. Like, I'll just connect you guys,
Yeah.
Well, that's boundaries hard. Also.
Yeah.
Respecting, this is a different type of boundary, but respecting your contact.
Yeah.
And not just sort of necessarily introducing. I mean, I think Kristina, you and I are good for that, knowing if it's like a great person, like this is my friend Inbal and you would be a great match. Mm-hmm. But I think when it comes to higher level contacts and brands, I think you want to be really respectful of their contact information and have that boundary. So different kind of boundary than we were starting to chat about, but
totally
that's important as well.
With the brand that you were talking about, the free packets that you got.
Yeah.
I love this.
I also received. Because I was like, oh, they were with Kristina, right? Yeah. I didn't reach out to you. I reached out myself. Great. And I was like, oh, I would love to do this. I have an in-person community. I sent this whole spiel. They were like, oh, amazing. Here's like the form to fill out. Same thing as you. I was like, I felt guilty for the amount that they sent me. So now I open up each one and I like put them on a plate so people can grab like one or two, so they're lasting me so much longer, and I can provide them for so many more events, because I'm like, I feel so bad. Yeah, I feel so bad using them because they were so generous. But it's something that I know how generous they are, and so if people I know are having events, I'm like, oh yeah, you should like reach out to them. But I open them up, and like, it's beautiful, like the colors and everything, like the display is so nice. You just open them up individually and they last so much longer, and you can provide so much more value, you know, and they're not spending as much money sending like more swag your way. You can extend it longer.
Oh, I love that. That's such a cute, you're so cute, Inbal. But one last thing I just want to say about that though, is that there's also a lot of like goodwill, I think, in friendships where you can go to a friend. Like if you had messaged me and you were like we're close enough that if you would come to me, you were like, hey, love this electrolyte mix, could you make an intro for me? I would be like, yeah, of course, like no problem. Like, you know, I love the quality of your events. I think it's a really good fit. One of the things you said, Ali, that struck a chord, and I know we've got to wrap up, but is which I'm surprised I can even see the clock. I'm not wearing my glasses. It's like anything could happen right now, guys. Is it's interesting with like as your contact list grows, right? Like people ask for intros sometimes, and there's a level of hesitancy sometimes because you're over introducing to people. And I found this with Chris actually harder because I had someone reach out to me and they're like, hey, do you have Chris's phone number? And I was like,
yes, but you can't have it.
yeah, but like, what am I supposed to say? Like, yeah. And they're like, would you mind grabbing it to me? I'm thinking about doing one of his events. And then I'm spiraling about this. Like, and I'm like, I can't just give the phone number, but that could be a sale or like whatever. So I messaged him and he was like, yeah, no problem. Just do an intro for me. He's like, do you think this person's going to text me a lot? I was like, yes. And he and he was like, great, let's do an email intro. And I was like, perfect. Right. But it was like a total comfort thing. And the person never said anything when I did the email intro. They never went to me and they were like, ask for the phone number, right? Like you can find different ways to kind of make those connections. And then also being respectful of the fact that like, you know, there's people who you really want to connect with and it's just not your season right now, or like I've made lots of introductions to somebody and like I'm like, oh, you know, they've had a lot of podcast guests and like they're actually not looking for any more podcast guests right now, but like let me just give it some time and then I'll circle back. But I think sometimes as community builders ourselves, we need to like thicken our skin for hearing some of those no's. You know, like hearing some of those no's of like, it's not my time to interview Jenna Kutcher today. Not today, Jenna. But it could be in a year or 2 years. And that's going to be such a great moment. Or we're interviewing Lori later. And like, Lori's been someone who's been on my list for years who I get to interview. Like, that's so amazing. But it like had to work out in the right space. And so, no, but Lori didn't have anything against me on it. It just wasn't the right timing. And I think being okay with sometimes the things need to develop kind of at the right time.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this earlier, right? Like saying no sometimes, because as community builders, everyone thinks that we're their friend, right? Which we are. We care about every single person, but we don't have time to grab coffee with every single person or like meet with every single person. And I've heard Kristina say this too, like I can't do a coffee chat with every single person. It's just, I don't have time in the day, you know? And what I started to do this when I was pregnant with my third, and I was like, getting close to delivering, I was like, hey.
She didn't even look pregnant. I just want to say we would go on Zoom and all of a sudden she would like move and it'd be like this, but looked exactly like this.
Yes.
As she looks today.
Elbows and ankles.
And belly buttons. Yeah. But I started to tell people, I was like, you know, thank you so much. And I would love to possibly connect in the future. But right now my plate is really full.
Yeah.
And it got me almost prepared me for postpartum too, saying no. And now I'm able to say no in a way that feels good for me. And, you know, whether that be like somebody recently was asking, you know, for something. And I was like, you know, and I listed the things. I was like, I have an in-person community, a virtual community, a course that I'm launching, and a mastermind. I just don't have time, you know? And it was another fellow community builder. And as a community builder, like they have to get it, you know, you have to know that like, this is legit. Right. And so finding ways to like build boundaries like that, which is so hard. Every time I send a message like that, I'm just like, oh God, you know, it's not easy, but we have to do that or else we're going to be just hanging out with people all day and not growing our business.
I hate that this has to end because as women, we shouldn't have to have babies to be able to tell people we can't have schedules. Like people, you know what I mean? Like that's something that's so hard is like, I also feel it's like I'm in this season right now that's so busy with travel. And it's actually funny because I saw Lori in Orlando, and I had said to her, I was like, Lori, you're finally getting on my podcast. Like, I got you. Like, I'm so excited. And Lori, and I was like, it's never worked out because the only time I'm ever in the same place as Lori is when I'm here for one of her events. And she has some boundaries around the time around her events because she needs to like recoup and get ready and all that stuff. And she was like, I don't say yes because I love you and I don't want to be resentful. And I don't want to do it and be like, oh, like, I said yes and I didn't want to, but like she really wanted me to and I did it. And then now I'm not prepared for my event or whatever. And she's like, it comes from like a place of love, not a place of like not wanting to be there. And I think us now I try to reframe that for myself where I'm kind of like, okay, that person said no. It's probably coming from a good place and they're probably coming from a good spot. So I think like, women, you don't have to have babies to
say no.
to say no. But I guess we should wrap up. But Inbal, thank you. Oh,
I have a closing question for both of you.
Okay, great.
It's a celebration question.
Love it.
What is something that you want to celebrate about the communities that you are building?
Inbal.
You just threw this at me first. I'm going to be selfish with this one. Like, I have built the most incredible friendships. Like in real life, Kristina, now you, just like girls that I hang out with, and can call and just get it. Like this weekend, I'm going to Sacramento. One of my girlfriends is putting on an in-person event for her big community. And my other two friends are going, and we're renting an Airbnb, and we're going to mastermind for 3 days about our businesses. We're all community builders, and we like coach or consult. And like, that happens not just to me, but to everybody in my community. And so I think just celebrating the value that I've brought to people, which like is kind of hard to say, right? But it's incredible. So I'm celebrating that.
Love it.
And I want you to answer after Kristina.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you got to answer. So I'll keep mine short, but I was just going to say for me, it's been really about the fact that like we got to show people what's possible. Like so many Canadian women are like, I get these messages that are like, thank you so much for going first. Like, and I'm like weeping because I'm like, I don't even feel like I'm doing anything. I'm just hanging. But it's like bringing these Canadian entrepreneurial women together to see the experiences that you guys have in the US all the time and create those kind of rooms that like, I know Allie's doing the same thing, that we're trying so hard. We come here, we spend thousands of dollars being here, and we're so grateful. And like, I have the most amazing American friends. Like, that's why I'm in my American Girl era. But it's also like, I want that same feeling at home. And there are just as many amazing Canadian entrepreneurs,
Can I just say, being in that room in January and like seeing all the Canadian women in one room was like, I feel like I'm going to get emotional because it's a culture thing, right? It's your country. And seeing the incredible women and their businesses and just how amazing they are was like very special for me to witness, just being in a room with. I felt very fortunate. It was very special.
Oh, Inbal, I love you. Thank you. And you trekked from California. I told her there wouldn't be snow. Biggest snowstorm of the winter. Knocked out by wind. Allie, your turn?
I would say, I totally agree with Inbal. The friendships is such a beautiful thing to witness and see and feel. But beyond that, I also feel confidence. I can truly see some women in my community that have just blossomed a whole new layer of confidence, and some of which convert to, being members of our gym community, which I love that as well. And it's really a win when you kind of go home and put your sweatpants on after an event and you sit in the joy of what you've just created. And we should all feel very proud for that. I think it's very easy to let that go because we're so focused on what we are building and creating for other people. But to feel proud of ourselves and celebrate the friendships, connections, and confidence.
I love that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Inbal, so much for being here. We had the best time chatting with you. I'm so happy
you,
to make it
ladies.
work.
Thank you.
Are
for
you
being
kidding?
Here.
I'm so honored.
We love you. And thank you so much to everyone who listened. We're so excited and gets me on both of our podcasts, which is so fun. Let us know what you think and can't wait to see what community you build.
Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you took 30 seconds and shared this on social media, send it to a friend, or leave a 5-star review. There is power in community, and I am so grateful to have you part of mine.